I couldn't save you. I tried to save you to try to show you that these numbers and analytics that you see, they're not real. Yo, welcome back. Welcome back to Isn't It? We're back, baby. I'm back. You're back. Let's go. Let's get into this right now. So today, I know we left on a little high note. We left on a little this, but today we're gonna jump into the more existence, the deeper existence, I guess you can say, to everything that you're watching right now. Let's start with parallel universe. Let's talk. We're gonna talk about time travel. We're gonna talk about all the stuff and break your motherfucking mind.
But you wanted to see, you wanted that more than you wanted me. And that's the truth.
Leaving all my worries, I prepare for something new. Whatever it was that held me back, I'm sure it wasn't true. Holding on too long and unresolved questions hold you down. What could have been a friendly smile has turned into a frown. I'm moving on and on. On and on. I'm moving on and on.
You know, time, space, context.
Context. Is there a balance? Can we find a balance to all this crazy madness? And the answer I would say is yes. But it's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of time. Let's start with time itself. Time travel, this ideal, this fascination of wanting it to be true, wanting it to be possible. But let me break it down to you like this. If you could theoretically time travel, could you remain sane? Think about that. Just take a moment. If you could travel to the future and see the outcome, I mean, would you be like, obviously, yeah, hindsight's 2020, duh. I can save myself from doing this or doing that. But in a way, how is that any different than playing a video game? You see, video games, let me make this analogy. You see, if for us gamers here, if you ever played a video game, there you understand the concept of what? Saving, loading. Saving, loading. Stay with that concept. You ever played a game before? Let's say your first level, let's say you get through the third level, it's kind of complicated, kind of tricky. You're like gasping for breath. You're just like freaking out, sweaty palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti, and you're like, I gotta get through this level. I gotta get through this level. And once you you finally get through the level with like one heart left. You're like, dude, it's a save station. Let me save. It's like Dark Souls. I never played it before, but I could imagine it's tough. You know, it's a grind. You know, Elden Ring, it's tough. Once you beat the heavy boss, you want to save, right? Or storylines, RPG games, you make decisions, right? Before you make to a critical point, if you see that outcome, you're like, I don't really like that outcome. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the past and redo it again. What if you could theoretically do that? Could you remain sane? Think about it. You know, it is definitely a fascinating idea to time travel in itself. You know, it's always thought it was impossible, but theoretically it is possible to time travel to the future. It's just a matter of energy and it's a matter of speed. You know, if we can go have the energy of that creates a star in itself and we can get to the speed and somehow survive faster than the speed of light, it is possible time travel to the future. Now, I don't know if I said it before, but time in itself was always, I think it was Isaac Newton, whatever the hell his name is. I'm sorry, I butchered your name, dude. Rest in peace. We always thought that he thought that time was like an arrow. Pull it back. Once it goes, nothing can stop it. Same time on Earth, same time on Mars, same time at all. Until Einstein came around and made us realize that time in itself, or theorized that time in itself is relative. Time is all relative, for example. Like, meaning you, observer, you can see down below how long this podcast is, but me, myself, in this moment, I have no idea how long this is going to go. That's how relativity works, in a way. If I'm going super speed, you can see me going fast, but I will never know. But if relative to you, you know, in a way, to bring it more to a relatable context to myself, right now, where I'm living in Austin, Texas, is busy, go. I'm always going. But relative to how my life was back in the Rio Grande Valley, now if you're in the valley, you know time feels like a day, feels like a year, a week feels like 10 years. Time goes so slow there. And I've always theorized, like, okay, science tells us that the closer we are to gravity, the slower time goes. And the further we are from gravity, time goes faster. So I'm thinking to myself, is that why time in the valley goes slower? Because it's more close to the equator. It's more close. It has, obviously, the valley name, lower sea level. So, in fact, it is closer to the Earth's core. It's closer to gravity. Maybe that's why time goes so slow. And maybe not so dramatic and like, I figured it out, but it's more, time's going so slow, like a fraction of a millisecond of a time. Time's going so slow there. And that's why you feel it. Because, you know, it's like, it's one of those things you don't realize how time affects you once you get out of it. You know, that somebody, for example, somebody could, like, you know, perfect example, people say, like, I've always sleep 4 hours. You know, I always felt good. And I'm over here saying, dude, you got to sleep, get a good 8 hours in and do that for a week and tell them how you feel. And so there's always those that's like, you know what, dude, 4 hours, that's all I need. And then once they sleep 8 hours, they're like, dude, what the was I thinking? I feel so much better. Like, everything's working. Everything is just so different now. It's like you don't know there's a problem until you realize it. And that's how I kind of view the valley and time itself. That's where this whole origin of time travel and time traveling, this fascination came about. And the more and more I'm looking into time travels and to understand time itself and to understand the relativeness of time. Take a drink every time I say time. But it is now understood that time, or rather theorized that time itself is like a river. And anytime there's a save point, like in a video game, and we want to go back, like theoretically it's possible time travel in the future. But traveling to the past, though, is a whole different kind of worm. I know it's going to sound like, oh, dude, Trey's got off the deep end. This guy's lost his freaking marbles. But no. Theoretically, you could time travel to the past, but in a way, example, let's say we want to stop some tragic event in your life or major world event. Let's say you want to, let's say you got a DUI and you're like, dude, I need to stop myself from drinking that night so I don't get the DUI because it's affected my life in such a negative way. Let's say you go back in time, right? And stop yourself from drinking too much, right? You may have successfully done that, but that's where the river forks off. That's where the river branches off into this whole new thing, if you're following me. It forks off. But eventually it comes back down to the main timeline, which is kind of like if you ever played a video game analogy. There's a main story. There's a main story arc. And no matter how you progress through the level, there's a beginning and there's an end. You know, there's always a thought that life was a journey. Life was, you got to enjoy the journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And the more I look into it, it's more.
We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end. And the thing was to get to that end, success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing. You were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played.
But you had to do that.
You didn't let it happen.
But to wrap up that point of time travel, it's definitely interesting. You know, if you could go back, let's say, it goes back to that question I asked you, could you remain sane? You know, let's say you don't like the circumstance. Let's say you don't like the certain situation that you're in right now. And you're thinking, man, if I could just go back and stop all this from happening, I could truly be happy. I would truly be elated. I just want to see. I just want to know. I just want to see how things would be. And let's say you go back and you fix this problem. Could you remain sane? What's stopping you from replacing yourself? You know, in a very comical way. If you ever seen Rick and Morty, Rick is, you know, goes back when he messes up his own timeline. What's the one thing? What's the one thing he always does? He always jumps to a timeline where the Ricks and the Morty die, and he comes and fills in for that timeline, and the people are unaware of the situation. But let's reverse it. Let's say you can see yourself happier, right? What could you stop yourself from causing yourself to tragically pass away in an accident just so you can jump in and live in that existence? But then living with yourself and knowing that you're not from this timeline, you're not from this existence. And let's say you live out this new existence that you created, but it eventually turns to ash in your mouth. And that's it, buddy. You can't go back. Because the existence you left, you're no longer a part of the story.
Why did I wander so far from home?
It's nobody's fault. The great circle of life has begun.
And how does that all connect to context versus context? What am I trying to get at here? You know, that's probably what you're thinking with yourself. You know, what is this guy talking about? Why am I watching this? It don't make sense. There's no funny memes. There's no, what do I want to know? It comes back to this problem that I've been dealing with and trying to understand when it comes to life itself and growing and expanding, you know, this gray matter in my head, this brain of just trying to find a deeper understanding of everything. Because, you know, for years, I've said it in my 20s, I spent so much research of trying to build this body, trying to become Arnold Schwarzenegger, trying to look buff. And the more I look back in the past, it's at the time in my own head, I felt like I failed. But now looking at old videos of myself, it's like, dude, I was what I wanted to accomplish, you know, be buff, be skinny, be jacked. I was that the entire time. And why couldn't I see that at the time? If you're following me, that's what I'm trying to get at here. own answers are within our own self, but our own self negative talk or whatever you want to call it, this woo-woo thing, is stopping us from seeing the truth. And the answers are right there, right in front of us, and we can't see it. And that's crazy. Truthfully, I lost. Context versus context. I know in last week, a couple weeks ago, podcast, whenever you see this, I've talked about the dangers of social media, of dangers of context versus context. People want TikTok. People don't want long form things. People want short, quick. And then I sat down and thought about it. Truly thought about it. Okay, like, what was I trying to say? There was a book analogy. There was this. There's the relationships. Like, what causes such a connection that people crave, that people want? Is it a simple matter of connection, artificial connection, of people chasing meaning? People want to be heard. People want to be seen. People want to do this, do that. So I used myself and things that I've done to kind of answer the question that I'm proposing. So I look at social media. I look at my social media, for example, things that I've posted, things that I've said, videos, old videos, and things of that nature. And I start to see the root cause of all my internal insecurities. No. Stay with me here. I always used to get frustrated. I always used to get, worried about staying relevant and doing crazy things, dropping the Family Guy bits, like taking these ADHD ideas but then putting in the podcast, putting it into the podcast, because it's like, okay, if I have ADHD, I need to make people freaking understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to say, I'm going to talk for 20 seconds, insert a bit, the Family Guy method. I'm going to freaking talk for like 2 minutes and then boom, Family Guy, boom, Family Guy, bit after bit after bit, well, back in my day, I thought I was a chicken. Boom. I thought it was a chicken. But it's crazy to think how it's all truly connected. So I started looking more. And I started to realize, all this time, the answers are right here. This idea of finding happiness and traveling to this certain area, moving up here. Sure, the intentions were good. Sure, and I'm grateful, I'm thankful that all this worked out in a way. But really, the root cause was trying to escape that simple existence. The root cause of it all was hurt. Because throughout my years, there was always something inside of me that I can't define.
What if I told you I spent over 10 years trying to get my group of friends back? This was never about money. This was never about finding love. This was never about some greater thing. This was about simply time I felt really complete. I felt a sort of meaning.
No, this is a great group. I honestly like it. I think some of the leaders that I take here to my church, and I teach them. So.
And I really found that in high school, through religion itself. We started this Bible club. There was the FCA, but me and a couple of people, we saw the corruption. We saw how I'm not trying to take shots, but I'm just saying at the time, it's all relative. So there's some things that we didn't like. So we said, screw it. At lunchtime, let's get our stuff. There's a corner over here. Let's talk about God, or let's talk about problems, see how it relates to us. And then we could make our own thing. And there was a group of eight of us. And dude, that's what we did every lunch. We met and talked. And, we had something to come back to every single day. We would invite people. We would, buy things for people, like Bible book covers. We were just like us. That idea of unity, teamwork, and then to see it, not necessarily fall apart, but grow apart and talk about it now, is me missing that. And then me experience again, in the church itself, away from the high school, being a part of something bigger than me. And I know this is going to be such a staunch difference from last week's podcast or 2 weeks podcast when you're seeing this. Because if you're seeing this, you're in. And I'm going to try my best to make it funny. But reality is reality, You can't hide the truth, and you can't hide everything. This is just a saved mark. If you don't like this, load back to a different existence. But to see that over and over again and experience at one point in time that unity, that when strangers come together under one cause and grow together, different ages, different groups coming together, uniting to, this whole thing. And it's just, dude, I miss that so much, that feeling of being a part of something. So I looked at that and understand going through each iteration of me dealing with that. And if you know my history, through being a youth pastor for a short brief, coach CrossFit run, earlier than that, what I'm talking about. In a way, it's weighed me down of I guess, guilt of feeling like a failure and not doing enough at the time. Being in my own head, per se. But to tie it back, to try to make it funny, but to tie it back to kind of break everything. How could you remain sane if you want to go back and try to not relive it, but theorize? Was there something I could have done to save everybody? To save that moment, bottle it and keep it forever. Rather than feeling guilty, rather than just, letting it weigh me down, becoming an anchor.
I don't want to let go.
And the more and more I look into people and tie science and religion, this context versus context things, social media, trying to connect everything together to make some sense of everything that I've dealt with, to being here, this to be sitting here, to be talking to you today. If you're listening right now, to provide something, to leave you something with meaning or definition of inspiration, to make you wonder, to make you think, to be here thinking about all that, and while stirring soup with my hands, trying to enunciate and kind of emote of what I'm feeling inside. But it's going back to us as a species, humans, our own existence of, this existence that we live in, you know, the universe or the cosmos, you know. There's a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson. He wrote in his book, and it makes so much sense, and it's true. He says, the universe has no obligation to make sense to you. I think that's the quote verbatim, but if not, you get it. And it's damn true if you look at life. Life itself is this combination of random things put together, but in a way it makes sense. And it's crazy to think that we're looking for meaning on something that makes no sense to us. I was going to say, us as humans, you know, when it comes to me, this need to want to connect, want to, I guess, connect with strangers or connect with people, hear me, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to figure out why, the why. I've always been a proponent of why, of trying to understand that word, why, to everything that I do in my life, you know, because I always thought if I could understand the why I'm here, why am I here, why am I doing this, I could have a positive outlook and be more positive and be more, I don't know, motivational, inspirational, have more discipline, whatever you want to call it, of just understanding that one word, why. When I look more into what created us, you know, at night, I think about those times when I used to work at the airport overnight, and I would be there with a group of friends waiting for like a plane to come in, and we would just like BS while looking up at the stars and like making figures or talking about nonsense. But as you know, a group of friends were talking, just there looking up, just lying there on the tarmac, man, looking and getting lost in it all, and feeling a sense of connection, and then coming to find out while looking more and more into science, and I know I'm probably late to the party, but to understand the atoms, the elements that created the elements to make us, you, me, came from those stars. And that's a damn fact. We came from the stars. The nutrients that created the core of the star, that exploded and spread across the universe, are the same atoms that created us. Isn't that crazy to think? Isn't that crazy to ponder and realize that we came from the universe? And when I think about this stuff, and I think there's a quote out there from like again, Neil deGrasse Tyson talked about it, of him connecting this sensation, this joy of feeling that. How is that? Isn't if when you okay? If I tell you, let's break it down like this. If I tell you, me accepting that this existence, this life, not only is the universe, not only are we connected to the universe, but the universe is within us. Now, different existence. What if I say, if God is everything, and if we accept Jesus into our hearts, we are saved. People that have done that, you know, they say the prayer and they accept God and they accept Jesus into the heart, and they are quote unquote saved. Now, this next part, I'm not trying to say that God doesn't exist or religion bash, maybe a little, but just bear with me. Stop clutching your rosary. I'm like, oh, this guy's taking God. He's crazy. When I think about that and growing up in the church, I don't like talk about my beliefs when it comes to that, but let me just say this, and I've said it publicly before. I want religion to die. And it's like, oh, what did he just say? The traditions of that is because if you read the book itself, if you read the New Testament, if you understand that this dude, Jesus Christ, came down and talked for like a total 2 hours and a half, like one podcast essentially. And if you read it and for what it is, but what his words are, it's about what? The message, a relationship, be good to others. Right. Take care of yourself. Right. It's not about traditions and these control. Because in a way, dude, I feel now people want to use religion. It's a business, man. It's a business. I'm sorry, but churches are a business. If it's all about narrative basing and twisting, it's about a pastor going up there and preaching, taking a scripture out of context and saying, no, this is what it means, brother. It means this, and you gotta give your tithes and offering. You gotta go. It's in the word of God. You gotta shove it, and realizing that it's all a fugazi. Yeah? It's trying to shift your narrative, but the meaning behind it is good. If you can make sense what I'm trying to say here, it's if it was simple, why can't we have a scripture-based Bible? I'm pretty sure, because I hope it exists, that makes sense of what it's all trying to say. Why does it have to be? Why does religion take the Bible and say like this is what it is? I have the answers, and I'm telling you what it really means. Are you just trying to take a persuasion essay and try to tell us this is what it means? You know, sorry for going off on the tangent, but that's like kind of like how I feel towards religion. It's about the relationship. It's not about the religion. Boom.
You know, the thing with the truth is, we want that. We don't want this four-dimensional ADHD creative videos weird thing. We don't want that. We just want this one. Be this person. Nobody cares.
When you accept, God, or that the universe is within you, and then really come from the cosmos, who really are atoms, and what do atoms do? They bond. In our very, very, very nature, what makes us is bondage, is connection. Because really, that's what we want out of life, I believe, is connection. We want to feel like we want to be a part of something. In a way, that's why I but I truly miss and want to go back in the past, because I want to experience real connection with people that I've come to know as family and friends. Because in a way, like, the older that I get, I'm starting more and more to realize that, unfortunately, people that I've met and that are my age have passed on to the next life. And that fear of, am I next, has always plagued me. And I've always done this or done that, try to make a rational move, try to do something drastic to kind of find meaning, whether it's religion or science or everything. And this one connection, context, religion, is something I read in a verse. And it's something that I've always wondered on. For you Bible people, it is Escalations chapter 3, a time for everything. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's one peculiar thing that really stood out to me, if I could find it really quickly, and that is 1920, Escalations chapter 3, verse 20. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and to dust all is returned. Everything is meaningless. Dust. Our own atoms that created us is what stardust. Essentially, we are stardust. So if this guy's talking about if we all go to the same place, we all come from dust, and dust to all we all return. In a way, it brings me comfort. In a way that social media, podcasting gives me comfort. It eliminates the fear. Because we all, whether you have kids, whether you don't, whether you're in your 20s or in your, like me, starting your 30s or in your later years, it's always that sense of wanting to connect, wanting to have a sense of, worrying about the end, stressing about this, stressing about that. But reality is, we always wanted to know, like, how's it all going to end? Like, oh, should I wear a mask? COVID, or whatever. It's knowing that what gives me comfort, I'm sorry for going on a long tangent, but what gives me comfort is that if we all return to dust, for you religious people, if it's true, then in a way we do live forever. And in a sense of we light up the dark in the night sky. We go back to lighting up the universe. We go back to this guiding light that is somebody's definition. That is somebody's, that could inspire somebody, that could help somebody, whether it's somebody who believes in astrology, saying, well, that star says this, we return to that existence. Or we go off and experience a new existence. It's definitely something to think about. Definitely something that I think about. And I know I had said that it also, social media brings me comfort. I know in the past, like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, I don't know when you're going to see this, but quintessentially, I've said that too much. I said it like 5 times already, but quintessentially, if I could use this example, everything that you post on social media, your pictures, your highlights, I feel now, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, SMH, or Facebook, or these different, let's use Facebook, Instagram. Let's call them different universes, parallel universes, if you will. You post pictures. I feel most people post their highlights on Instagram. I went to this mountain, I went to this trail, but I've always found, cool, that's awesome, you went to there. But in a way, what gives that meaning? Let's say I go to the same spot, same mountain, same view, and take the exact same picture. Did you really achieve something, or did you want to just get some sort of engagement or get some sort of meaning behind it? But I go to the same spot, I find a different definition and meaning. I feel whether it's religion or symbols, people, what did I say? I meant religion or science. I'm unraveled in my own head. It's people looking for meaning, Not to harp back on religion. I know the cross Jesus freaks are like, oh my God, I'm triggered. Oh! Think about a cross. It's a lowercase t. That's all it is. That's all it is. It is the meaning behind it that gives it worth. Such is life. whether it's your own existence, your own social media page, your own posts. It's meaning. It's whether we come from stardust, or return to dust. It is finding meaning, and it's finding it. And I say that and I'm laughing in my own head because I realized through, as I said earlier, quintessentially, that meaning comes. I feel like I've wasted 30 years of my life looking for meaning, looking for the reason why I'm doing this, the reason why I'm here. When it's my time to return to the stars at night to light up the sky, why should I care? I've had my run. I've enjoyed my life. Why should it matter how you take it? The point I was going to make before I went off on that tangent is the things you post, the things you say, you are the author to your book. Think of it like a book. You're writing each chapter, each day of what you want your book to look like at the end of your life. Now, I've always used this analogy in a metaphorical sense when it comes to your own life, but now thanks to social media, anybody or everybody can take snippets of what you say and what you do. It's digitized. At the end of your life, somebody could take each aspect of your social media and put it together like a scrapbook, and people who knew you can see who you really are and take some inspiration from that. Whether it's a family member, niece, nephew, they can see, gather some sort of context from the content, that balance that we're all striving for, and see that that's who you are as a person. And it took me a long time to realize that, maybe longer than most, but it's a matter of, dude, it's comforting. It's comforting to know that even though sometimes I feel people in general, they don't want to see this. I know I mentioned in the past, I said, you're not here to see me. You're here to see the cheese man. In a way, I was joking, but in a little bit of a joke, there's a little bit of truth. I've noticed that anytime I break away from the norm, when I break away from, posting motivational quotes or speech that help me through the day, or the week, when I break away, when I post stuff that I want to post, that's more of me and more of things. I've noticed people don't care. Like, it's like, no, go back to the other thing. People in general, I mean, if you take value in people's opinion of you and, them having control of your life, because people just want one-dimensional. They want you to be one thing. But like I said before in the whatever weeks ago podcast, a person is so complex. Like, take me, for example. I've always said that I don't exist, and that's true to itself. The person you're seeing right now and the person you're hearing right now, I no longer exist. You're like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? You're alive. I'm going to call you right now after seeing this. Are you okay? Are you okay? I don't exist. My own thoughts, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, my own interpretation of life right now is vastly different than what this previous podcast was. That's called growth. If I'm always continually, my own consciousness is constantly growing and constantly, evolving, then what you're seeing right now, yes, in itself, I don't exist. And the best example is what? Working out. easy. Anybody who's working out, anybody's doing this can see. At a time, I was bigger, I was skinnier, I was buff, and now I'm back to kind of fit, kind of fat. You know, and that's perfectly fine. That's who I am. But hey, that's life. And I feel like people, me, I wasted 30 years of my life trying to find meaning in this life, in my own existence, through all the bold shit I've gone through. Trying to find meaning from that all. You know, having it all, the guilt for missing my friends, for missing not being there, you know, watching my nieces or nephew grow up, not being there, that guilt weigh me down to you know, to not break through the surface, to see the truth. And the truth is me. As a person, me, my own gray matter, this own consciousness creates meaning. It is the power that we have that I think most people take for granted. You have the power, not just through social media. I always view, you know, social media like a video game. You know, when it comes to like Xbox, there's Xbox One, Xbox 360, Xbox X, whatever. When it comes to real life, this is real life. I'm experiencing real life, but what you're experiencing right now through social media, through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is real life too. The next part of existence that for some reason or another, that's what people want. Rather than taking care of real life itself, people are getting lost in real life too, because they want to create something in this power through contexts and content, you know, searching for meaning, wanting to be a part of a tribe or a cult or whatever because they want to feel connected. They want to, and that's this artificial thing, but without realizing, if you don't experience that in the real life to understand what true connection feels like, how could you ever possibly understand connection? If that makes any sense. It's to broaden that. It's like, okay, if you've always had you know, American Coke, I'm talking about Coke soda. If you ever had Coke soda, you know, it has what? Artificial sweeteners, artificial sugar. You ever had Mexican Coke? You know, the soda in the bottle? There's a vast difference because it's made with what? Real sugar cane. If you haven't experienced the real thing, how could you possibly know the artificial thing? And I believe that's the point I was trying to make in a month ago's podcast, is I feel people are missing the step. You know, getting lost in politics and trying to pick a side and realizing, you know, trying to find meaning in these symbols through religion, through Bible verses or scientific thought. You know, they believe it, but they don't question it. And questioning things is not a bad thing, but it produces growth. You know, if someone says, hey, take this pill, you'll be better. Take it. You take it without question. That's something you gotta look within yourself and understand why. And like I said, I wasn't trying to bash religion or science. It's questioning produces growth, and if we're not growing every day, having a certain thought of certain possibilities, you know, chasing new opportunities, if we're always stuck in the same mindset, how can we ever accomplish growth if we don't question our own motives, our own why? You know, if we're just constantly chasing the same thing, this fairy tale dream, this, you know, when it comes, for example, is relationships. If you're chasing this ideal person, in a way, you're wasting years of your life chasing the dragon, essentially. this existence, this fairy tale, rather than just simply living your life every day to the fullest, and that meaning it's growth. And I tell you all this to say this. And I do apologize. I know this episode wasn't really fun, but I want you to understand something, that meaning, whether it's you believe in symbols, you believe in time, you believe in astro signs, you believe that you're a Pisces, and you believe that means you're categorically like this, or you're a Libra or Scorpio, whatever the hell you think that you are, or you're a Catholic, Christian, Protestant, Antichrist, atheism, you're a Scientologist, you're a Mormon, whatever meaning of life you think that you are, and you believe so strongly, and you never take the time to question your beliefs, I mean, that's on you, pal. I want you to think of what this existence, this meaning that you will create. I want you to truly think about that. And after saying all this, and if you made it to the end of the podcast, I want you to hear this fact. And if you heard me said, stick with those who continue to seek the truth, and run for those who claim to found it. I'm not here to say today that I found the truth, and I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, but I will say that these words that I've said, these theories that I think about, your definition of meaning, creation, the funny part of it all, these connections of random things put together to make this vision that you're seeing right now, this one-dimensional, does it all mean something? No. It means nothing. So go out there and live your life, and make this life your own. Because, not to say that everything is meaningless, but life is meant to be lived, and create your own meaning. And if you follow somebody else's definition of meaning, like if you follow my meaning and you get to the end of the road, you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Right. Because this definition of meaning wasn't meant for you. My life is meant to be lived like this. Now, not necessarily here sitting in this chair in this place or on this podcast, but, talking, but I will leave you with this. Speaking of existence and not existing, I've hated my nickname. I've hated it. Because after seeing friends after friends after friends return to the stars, return, when it's my time to go, I don't want to be known as a stupid nickname. I've outgrown the nickname, and I want it to die, and I want to be known as my real name. And that is let it go. Let it go.
If you're looking to begin, then look no further than within. I'm satisfied with what I've got and still eager for more. The change that you've been looking for will come knock on your door. On and on. On and on. On and on. On and on. I'm moving on and on.
Never.
back the real video game keeps the score more points. Eagles view not to keep the Futrix or the other losing graphics. Yeah?